What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to another Age of Brand Studios video. As usual, I'm Leland, and today we are going to be talking about the most recent Marvel Crisis Protocol reveal, and that is for Gladiator. Now, they have also talked about two scenarios that are coming out with them. We are not going to discuss that one in this particular video. I think that deserves kind of its own talk in the future, and also more when we get a broader picture of everything that's coming in the Crisis selection that comes with the War of Kings box. So we're going to put a pin on that one today. We're just going to quickly go over Gladiator, talk about what we've seen here, and just give some hot potato takes on it. So guys, remember, if you like this style of content, let me know in the comments below by hitting that like, comment, subscribe buttons, or alternatively, you can go to patreon.com/AegisBrandStudios, and a couple bucks there keeps the lights on, keeps content current, allows me to keep doing this sort of content among all the battle reports, and continuously make improvements. So thank you so much for that. Or alternatively, you can go to iwargame.net. They've been a great friend and sponsor of the channel. You can check out their mats and use code AegisBrand to let them know that we sent you. Save 10% on one of their wonderful pre-marked mats. So Gladiator, we have another 6-threat character entering the game, and it is a doozy of a character. Now, very interestingly enough, I think this is one of those situations where I've discussed this online with various people and whatnot. When a character comes out, we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. So you get a character that is potentially problematic, and then 6 months later, we see a character that kind of deals that. We saw that with Malekith, followed by Beta Ray Bill. And now we're kind of seeing it again with Thor 2 and Gladiator. Not to say that Gladiator is going to solve the Thor problem, but we are seeing an unfortunate trend of kaijus coming out to deal with kaijus, and unfortunately, that is potentially a problematic approach to how we're seeing the character releases here. But that's besides the point. So what are we looking at for Gladiator? Well, first off, he's got a beefy defensive stat line. He's 4-5-4 for his defenses. He's got 9 stamina on both sides, which is, that's a lot to chew through. That's 18 stamina. I think next to Thor, or next to Hulk, that might be the highest. Maybe, okay, I think Dormammu actually has a little bit more, but that is a lot of stamina to chew through. He is threat 6, as we've discussed. He's got size 2 and he's medium movement. So, he's moving around a whole lot. He's got that stamina. From the looks of it, I think he might be on a medium-sized base. I'm not 100% sure about that one, but we will find out soon enough on that one, if they haven't already addressed it in some of the documents. I don't think they have, though. So anyway, as far as Gladiator goes, what he's bringing to the table, he's got his physical Praetor punch, range 3, 6 damage, or 6 dice, sorry. It's your typical builder attack, and it's got a wild suppressive, so that's for every wild you roll, the target character is going to lose a power before damage is dealt. It's fine. I mean, there's nothing really terrifying about this one. He can potentially do some power mitigation on his targets, which is really nice to maybe stop things like damage reduction before it actually starts, being relevant and all this sort of stuff. It's nothing wild, though. I think this is actually a fine builder for a character of this threat. The attack that really got my attention, though, was his next one. It's an energy attack. It's a beam 4, 5 dice for 2 power. It's I-beam. It has a wild incinerate. Now this one is kind of wild because of that beam 4 and that incinerate. You can potentially get a lot of targets with that one, especially on an E-map. We all know how dangerous Crimson Dynamo is on E-maps. Gladiator is going to ramp that up quite a bit. It's going to make him quite a big threat on that one, simply because you can get a lot of targets. Getting those wilds to incinerate a whole bunch of characters, that can be game changing for teams that can throw in a lot of stuff, like Guardians, Shield, stuff like that. Then we also have Magister's Might, range 3, 10 dice for 5 power. This one's got 2 triggers on a wild. It's got a wild stagger, and then it has a wild throw. Now, this is a size-agnostic throw. It's way short, so you can't throw it in any direction. But for 5 dice, I really like this. For 5 power, when you're throwing 10 dice, the odds of getting that wild trigger in there are quite high. I know you can go on Jarvis and it'll do all the math for you on that one, but you have very good odds of getting that wild result on that one, which is going to make the Magister's Might quite an effective attack to use. And this is before going into the rest of his kit. So his attack suite is actually very straightforward. He's getting in there, he's throwing fists. but the fact that he's got that range 4 beam attack as well, and he doesn't even have to be within that range 2 band. So Gladiator's a really interesting character in that particular regard. He doesn't have to get really invested in the scrum, but he can still really impact it and play around with it as a result. So next up, we go into his superpowers. We got an active ability for the Empress and Empire. This is 3 power. It is a charge, well, basically a move action followed by a Praetor's Punch. Now, part of this one introduces one of the mechanics on this one. If this attack does damage, he's going to be gaining a confidence token. What do confidence tokens do? Well, we'll get to that in just a second, but here we go. We got action compression. Anytime we have a character of this size having some sort of action compression, that's movement outside of a typical use of an action, or bundling that action and attack, or movement and attack rather, or a pounce. Anything that just gives him a little bit more efficiency to allow him to spend his actions actually impacting the game, not just moving around. Very big deal. For 3 power, it's not too expensive. It's in line with what we've been seeing with a lot of other action compression superpowers of characters of this threat. Then we have Imperial Authority, which is another active power for 3. Choose an interactive terrain feature size 4 or less within 2. Throw it long. I love a long throw. We don't have a lot of these ones in the game, so having another long throw for 3 power, really great. It's a fantastic way of reaching out again across the board, and it just shows that even though he is very much a brawler type character, he can interact with things on the edges of the map. There's not really a lot of safe places around. If Gladiator has the power, he's going to be able to get to a lot of places on the board. He's going to be able to affect a lot of objectives on the table. So he's going to always be a character that you have to be mindful of, who is basically always breathing down your neck. And having, again, that long throw size 4, it's fantastic. Now, it's not a character throw, and we've been seeing a lot of the character throws have been moving over to attack triggers. We're not seeing as many of them as superpowers, which is probably a good thing, because being able to throw a character on demand is, sometimes it's a problematic thing. We all know how good Hulk's control is, and other characters who can throw characters. So kind of limiting that or gating it behind attack triggers and not superpowers, probably a good thing in the long run. Except we have an innate superpower, and this is where the confidence tokens come in. When this character deals damage with a Praetor Punch, after the attack is resolved, the character is going to gain 1 confidence token. Gladiator is all about the confidence. The more confident he is that he's going to win, the more confident people around him are of him, the better he does. When he suffers any damage, he's going to lose 1 confidence token. So any sort of chip damage, he's going to love Loki, Prince of Lies, for instance, because he's just going to eat dead confidence tokens off him. He's going to lose a confidence token. So, and he can have a maximum of 5 of these at a time. So what do the confidence tokens do? Well, for every confidence token he has, he's adding a die to his attacks. Not just 1 attack, all of his attacks. So his Praetor Punch can potentially become an 11 dice builder. His Magister's Might can be a 15 die spender for 5. His I-Beam can be a 10 die beam 4. This is wild. If Gladiator is able to get those confidence tokens, he can really become a real menace on the table. So it's always going to be important, even if you're not planning on trying to take him down, throw a little bit of chip damage into him every so often. Get those confidence tokens off him. Otherwise, he is going to become very unmanageable very quickly. Next up, we have Alpha Strontian Physiology. I probably said that wrong. Basically, he gains an extra power in the power phase. For a character like this, that's kind of, I don't want to say expected, but it's very typical. They have some form of additional power generation. And then he has flight. So as far as the character card of Gladiator goes, it is a beefy one. He brings a lot to the table. He's very mobile, especially if he's on a medium-sized base. He can reach out and interact with a lot of aspects of the board state when he wants to and how he wants to. And if left unchecked, he can really do a lot of damage with his basic attacks. If you run into a list where he's kind of being protected by bodyguards and all this sort of stuff to kind of keep those confidence tokens on him, you could end up with a big problematic Gladiator very quickly. And he is quite the answer to a lot of big threats and targets. So he's going to be an interesting character to see on the table and see how he actually interacts with stuff. Now, before we get into talking about where he might play in the game, he does come with a couple of tactics cards as well. So we have Praetor of the Imperial Guard. It's an unaffiliated active card. It is during Gladiator's activation, he can spend 4, choose up to X other allied characters, where X is the number of confidence tokens he has. Those characters gain 2 power each. So this is really cool. Now, he can't target himself with it because it's other allied characters, and you do need to have those confidence tokens. Now, you don't lose the confidence token. So that's actually kind of a big deal right off the hop right there. And it becomes a very powerful advanced R&D. If you need to power up your team very quickly for a big clapback or something like that, this card can definitely do that for you. Yeah, I really don't have much notes on it. I think it's a fantastic card. I think it's always in contention for your 5 if Gladiator is in your team, because that sort of power generation and economy can really help swing a battle back in your favor. Then we have Protector of the Empire. It's again unaffiliated. It's reactive. When another allied character is dazed or KO'd, an allied Gladiator may pay 3 power. They advance medium towards the enemy character that caused the effect, and then they make a Praetor punch. If the attack dazes or KOs the enemy character, Gladiator is going to gain 1 confidence token. So interesting to know on this one, as well as his 1 superpower, where they specifically give a confidence token. That is, from the sounds of it, on top of the confidence token they would get normally. So there are ways of actually getting him multiple confidence tokens on a single attack. So there are ways of building that up. But we've seen how powerful clapback attacks can be. And Gladiator having a clapback attack, especially if he already has some confidence tokens, maybe a hammer or something like that, this guy is going to hit like a truck. So that's going to be very interesting. Once again, I think Protector of the Empire is definitely worth considering for his 5 if you're bringing Gladiator, because that level of clapback is very powerful. And then, you know, once you pair it with other teams that are able to sort of like boost that a little bit more, either through dice rerolls or adding extra dice, you know, Gladiator can potentially have a lot of interesting synergy. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where Gladiator can kind of go. You know, the obvious suspects, anywhere where he can gain a little bit of extra power is always going to love him. So, I mean, I could see you tossing him in Inhumans. I could see you tossing him, maybe trying him out in Xavier X-Men, where, you know, a little bit of power goes around. Yeah, you know, just if you can power him up, get him to his kit a lot faster, get him charging, get him throwing things, you know, really cool stuff. I could actually see an argument to use him in Magneto Brotherhood as well because of that terrain throw. Alternatively, anywhere where there's dice fixing. An obvious culprit, I think, Guardians. Guardians will like him as kind of a kaiju character. He can get big into the face. He can throw lots of dice around, which Guardians like to do, and those winging it tokens will just make those dice a little bit more efficient. I could see an argument for him in Shield Invaders, or maybe not Wakanda, because Wakanda really likes to use the Wakanda-specific cards. But the thing with Gladiator is, though, he seems to be a 6-threat character that can slot almost anywhere. I think a lot of affiliations like him, and I think the biggest problem he's going to face with being splashed anywhere, he is going to be competing with the other 5, 6, 7-threat splashes and that sort of stuff. So you're going to have to make a choice as to what kind of team you're building there. Do you go with Gladiator as your splash? Do you go with Thor 2 as your splash? You know, is Thanos the splash type deal? So you're going to have to contemplate that one and see how that one works. Now, of course, the affiliations that are kind of, you know, broad and open, Thralls of Dracula, Legion of the Damned, Hellfire Club, Dark Dimension, it becomes a little bit more of an interesting discussion there because, you know, you're not as locked to what sort of characters you can bring. You can kind of choose all good stuff and toss it in, and I think Gladiator is going to perform very well in those sort of positions. I think especially in Thralls of Dracula or Hellfire Club, he's gonna be an interesting slot into both of those ones because he's gonna be able to get some power generation, or he's gonna be able to get some health back in some cases, or just impact with like things like bleed and stuff like that. So yeah, that's Gladiator. That is the hot takes. I think Gladiator is going to be a very fascinating character to see on the table. I think he's going to cause a lot of thought with the roster building. I think you need to consider Gladiator when you're building your roster because he is going to be able to impact a lot of things, and it's going to even make characters like Thor potentially sweat a little bit, as well as other bigger characters. So I'm excited to see what he does on the table, although I am a little concerned at the route that we kind of be going, where like the big characters are getting very big, very impactful in the game. And so far, the only answers we're really seeing to that are other big characters. So we'll see how that one shakes out. But in the meantime, sound off below, get involved in the conversation, let me know what you think in the comments below, and we will see you next time. Happy wargaming.